Awesome. So hi everyone. Thanks for joining us today to learn more about Vital Venture Consulting and who we are. So let's start with some housekeeping item. Okay. Sorry. Okay, so before we start, just to want to go through some of the housekeeping items with you guys. But Vital, we seek to create a community of students, and we try to provide a comfortable virtual environment for everyone, and that's why we remind you to be open-minded, mature, and respectful during the meetings and during the Q&A sessions with us, the panelists, and as well as other attendees during the event as well. So, yep. So just an introduction about our team, Vital Venture Consulting team. My name is Ling. I'm one of the co-directors of Ventures. I'm a fifth-year student studying finance and accounting management. And yeah, I've been with Vital for the past 2 semesters, and I look forward to sharing a lot about our past project with Momentum, during our meeting with you guys today.
Cool. Yeah. My name is Nirban. Also been on Vital's team for 2 semesters, and the third year studying health science and business analytics. And just like Lynn, very excited about this next cycle. I think we have um, a lot of cool stuff that we're going to be able to achieve. And I'm just here to be anybody's mentor, give you any guidance, especially around healthcare consulting, or just anything in between. Cool. So let's talk a little bit about Vital's mission. So at Vital, we have three main focuses. First one is to inspire. We want to bring in really interesting speakers, always do some sort of cutting edge experiential work, whether that's through ventures consulting, through our case competition, because we are the next leaders in healthcare, and we want to be the ones that are creating and making this world a better place. So that's our first piece. And then, second of all, we like to connect with other organizations. We like to connect within Vital with students that have similar interests, but also we'd like to learn and expand some of our knowledge with such an interdisciplinary group. That's really easy to do. And finally, creation is basically like the culmination of all of what Vital hopes to do. So at the end of either some of our events or some of the experiences that you might have with Vital, we just hope that you can go home and start thinking about some cool ideas and create something in your head or some sort of mission that gets you up out of bed every day, to continue this passion behind entrepreneurship and innovation in healthcare.
Mhm. So just to reiterate what Noban just talked about in terms of our vision for Vital. Vital Venture Consulting, when you think of us, you can think of us as a consulting arm of Vital, and essentially in terms of what value we can add both for the students and for the company are as follows. So on the student side, of course, our vision is really to provide you with the learning beyond the classroom and foster an interdisciplinary perspective on healthcare and entrepreneurship. And for our clients, those who engage with Vital Venture Consulting, we want to, make an impact on their decision making, and with an overarching goal of working together to drive healthcare forward. And we will talk a little bit more about this when we, share more about the project we did in the past and what came out of it later. So in terms of for our in terms of the agenda for today, we will go through a little bit about the healthcare landscape, just to give you guys an overview about what's happening out there and how ViTAL and especially ViTAL Venture Consulting can play a role in that entire value chain of for healthcare. And then we will talk more about our past project, and stay tuned if you want to hear more about how you can engage with us with our upcoming projects in this summer. So Naban, you wanna fire it up?
Yeah. So I guess the first thing to think about when we work in healthcare, and this could definitely be very new for all of you, especially if you've never done anything in healthcare. But there's this triple aim. So triple aim is basically three main focuses of any sort of innovation in healthcare. So if you look at any sort of startup, any sort of company that's relatively successful, um, they're trying to tackle these three different prongs in some kind of way. So the first is population health. So, I mean, self explanatory term, but solutions that can make our population overall healthier can ultimately tap into other things like the other aims. So, cost and experience of care. So, for example, if your population gets healthier with some sort of app or solution, then patients aren't going to have to go into the hospital as much or get surgery or expensive treatments as much, because at a population based level, they are more aware of their healthcare and more proactive about getting taken care of about themselves. Um, so cost is the other piece. Cost is one of the biggest, I guess, like issues in the healthcare system, because we spend as a country um, the most out of any other country in the world as a percentage of GDP on healthcare. So hospitals, all healthcare systems, insurers, everyone is trying to cut costs. So that's another big piece. And then finally, experience of care. So I'm sure when you guys have gone into hospitals or doctor's appointments, sometimes you have a good time with your doctor. Other times you feel like they don't care about you, or other times you have to wait a long time. So those are all factors in experience of care. So a lot of companies incorporate this into their model because patients should come first. And when patients come first, naturally, your quality of care delivered to the patient will be better. So this is something that I'll definitely explain much more in detail if you do become a part of our VVC program, because that's this is an important piece to understand, especially whenever you're looking at any sort of product or service that's trying to be successful. So I can make this one a little more interactive. This wasn't planned, but for those online that do know the answer to this, can someone try to explain to me how some of these stakeholders might interact in the healthcare system, or what you think about these four groups? You can take a second. Yeah, like, I mean, I know these some of these terms might be completely new,
I think they're all like
but
interconnected. Like, sorry, I mean to interrupt you, but yeah, like if one of these things changes, like for example, policy maker, like something, a new legislation passes by, it'll affect everyone. So they're kind of all intertwined, is the way I see it.
yeah, that's good. That's right. Does anyone else have anything to add on top of that? Okay, well, I can explain a little bit more. So, patients, very self explanatory. Patients are the ones that receive the care, and providers are the ones, the nurses, physicians, anybody that provides clinical care. Um, so providers are the ones giving the direct care to the patients, but then it's the payers and the policymakers that kind of work in the background. So the policymakers, as Ron said, um, pass legislation, create infrastructures for the system to work in. So, policymakers decide who gets what kind of care, how much that care is going to cost. Um, and policymakers also have a huge responsibility of making sure that the populations that need care get the adequate care. And that's kind of an issue area that we see nowadays is some populations don't receive the care they need. And so there's a huge gap in the healthcare system that we're still working to fix. And then finally, payers are the ones that basically pay for the services. So payers, your most common payers are insurance companies because when you receive a bill from the hospital, you're not paying $10,000. You're going to pay the amount that your insurance doesn't cover. So insurers are the ones that are upfront writing the check, paying for the services that you receive. Um, and then based on whatever you have contractually agreed to through your employer or through an individual plan, then you're going to pay like whatever the deductible is, or the co-payment for that service. So payers are more the financial end, and then policymakers overall structure, and then patients and providers have the most direct interactions. And so now we see the healthcare landscape, and honestly, this is a mix of what the experts say and what I say. But this is what we're seeing coming into 2021. So digital health is very hot. I'm sure a lot of you guys know of some of these companies. You might use them. And so digital health incorporates sometimes using devices like wearables to track your health, but often there are also other apps that let you use telemedicine. But there are also certain services that collect patient data and use patient data to improve healthcare outcomes. So there's quite a spectrum. Um, but digital solutions are the new wave, especially with COVID making care in person to be very difficult. And then the second piece is social determinants of health. So social determinants of health are basically non-clinical factors that impact someone's healthcare. So that could be the environment they live in, their income, their level of education, um, quite like basically any factor you can think of that might impact someone's health um, outside of just the condition itself. So a lot of companies now are using like data analytics to understand how certain populations might be more risk. And then they're going back to hospitals and saying, hey, like, here are some social determinants that we see in your patient pool. You should take these and try to solve them. So that's another huge piece. And we see with COVID-19, you might have heard that some populations are disproportionately affected by COVID-19. And that's primarily because of these social determinants of health. And then finally, we have consumerism. So consumerism is basically, this behavior where individuals buy a lot. So these are some of the biggest consumer healthcare companies. So Johnson and Johnson, Pfizer, Bayer. So this is like a good mix of pharma, but also companies that make some of the everyday like healthcare products that we use. And so this is something that's always been growing, but I think coming into 2021, especially as we have a pandemic and more time on our hands, we see that folks that are staying at home end up buying more. And that's just the way it works. So that's the future and what it's looking like. But, there's much more than what's just on this slide.
Awesome. And since we have a quite like a small group of people who attend our event today, so feel free to like chime in with any questions you have in mind, or just like if you are shy and whatnot, just type it in the chat. We're happy to, answer it, when we go through this with you guys. But yeah, so let's just switch gear and talk more about about how those topics that Nabarn just mentioned tie to our pilot consulting project with Momentum, which is an like early stage orthodontic imaging startup we worked with last summer. So to start off, I'd like to kind of introduce this concept of iterative market research, which encompasses the non-linear process that we use at VVC to redefine the scope of the problem we were working on, developed hypotheses, challenge assumptions, and collect data, and distill this data into insights to drive business decisions. And in the context of Fermentum, we actually so in the context of Fermentum, which the company, just to give you an a background information about the company, they actually use artificial intelligence algorithms to automate the processes dentists need to go through for orthodontic diagnosis and treatment planning, so as to increase the clinical efficiency and augment physicians' capabilities. VVC, we actually focus on the customer discovery and market assessment to crack the code, so to speak, for how Fermentum can communicate its value adds to patients and dentists, and how it is going to release, promote, and sell its products within the marketplace. So some of the questions we help them with, and we need to address during this process are, for example, who is Fermentum target customer? Which geography should Fermentum go to first? What is Fermentum's value proposition to differentiate itself from competitors? And based on those insights, how can Fermentum at the end of the day promote and sell its products to the right customers? And to answer those questions, and in order to help us form preliminary hypothesis, we use a lot of market research. So both secondary market research and primary market research. And just to give you a flavor of how that works, we I know it's a little bit counterintuitive to put secondary research in front of primary research, but it's actually how things how we approach market research for our project. In the beginning, we extensively utilize secondary research such as publicly available reports, articles, and our best friend, so to speak, Google. However, given the customer-centric nature of the project, primary research through interviews and surveys with physicians really allowed us to have important conversations with dentists who test our hypothesis in the beginning that we had in the beginning, and also understand the pain points that Fermentum can solve for their customer, as well as the decision process behind choosing different choosing the treatment modality for the patients with misalignment of teeth. And with that, our final portfolio is basically culminated all those weeks of very fast-paced learning and engagement with Fermentum's founding team. So going back to the vision of VVC in the beginning, this has been a great opportunity for me personally to get hands-on experience and make a real impact in the product and strategy that Fermentum take on down the road. The student-driven aspect of the project means that a lot of time we are required, quote unquote, to take ownership over our individual work. have, bias for action and really push through to get things done in a timely manner while ensuring the highest quality possible. That's what the mentality that we are looking for in the new team members. Uh, Other than that, students from a wide cross selection of disciplines and backgrounds are definitely big in our recruiting agenda as well, because we believe that, innovation, as you can see, they exist at the intersection of things, and we also hope to foster an interdisciplinary perspective on healthcare for, those students who engage with VVC and ViTAL. So that's pretty much it. The band. So you want to go through our like recruitment timeline and yeah.
Yeah, so application deadline's in a little bit over than a week. So February 12th. So if you've gotten around to it, thank you. If you haven't, you still have plenty of time. And then we're gonna have some workshops just to get you up to speed, especially on the healthcare landscape, and get you some other skills that you're gonna need to make sure these projects go well for you and for us as a team. And then we will start in May. So it's all coming very fast. And not to be fearful, but definitely reach out if you have any questions, and if you have some super pressing timeline that you can't necessarily get the application in on time or something. We're pretty chill, happy to talk about it, but try to really get it in on that timeline, just so we can get through interviews and get everyone all settled in time.
Awesome. So I think that's pretty much it. And now I think it's a great time for us just to open the floor and see if you have any questions for, the band and I, which is like ViTAL, e-board in general. Happy to answer any questions you have.
I was kind of curious where you guys got your original like first professional experience in healthcare and like how you guys went from there.
Yeah, I can go with that. First professional experience. I guess I can talk about my first co-op. I did research and stuff before then, but I'll say co-op was the first professional. And honestly, I didn't like it. That's funny. That was my first co-op. Didn't really like it. It was at this actuarial firm. I don't know if you know what actuarial science is, but it's basically like finance and math on steroids. A lot of Excel. But they basically work with, it's like a firm that works with health plans and helps them basically like price out their services. So like a plan will come to you and they'll say, hey, like we're trying to offer like XYZ benefits. Help us like come up with a good price so we don't lose money, and like the patient, feels comfortable with the price point. So a lot of like risk analysis and pricing. And I'm a health science guy, not really like finance or super mathy. So I was interested in like the healthcare analytics piece because I learned a lot about healthcare data and how to like do cool stuff with that. But outside of that, I feel like the environment wasn't that great for me. But it's definitely showed me what I liked and didn't like, and now I'm definitely in a much better place.
Awesome.
Okay, so about my first professional experience with healthcare. So I actually have to go back a little bit because my interest in healthcare sparked when I was like very small, because like both of my parents, they work in the healthcare space. So it's just like something that I just feel very like I'm very interested in since I was a kid. But so my first co-op, yeah, I will talk about that because that basically my first experience with working in healthcare and whatnot. So my first co-op was with an island pharmaceutical company, which is a growing biotech firm based out of Cambridge, and I work in their business planning and analysis team. So it's just like on a very high level, what I did on a daily basis is just like work with the commercial team and help them with thinking through their strategy in the next 1 to 5 years, and to see how they can best utilize the resources they have to bring their first, their second drugs on the market. So that's what I did. And what I really like about my, this co-op is that the work is super fast paced and dynamic. And that's what really, you know, attracted me to healthcare, because I feel like there's a lot of things to learn. Like not only do you have the opportunity to learn about the company, their products, but you have to also, get updated on what's happening out there with like all the changes in regulations, and what some of the new moves that their competitors made, like in the last like few months or years. And it's just like very interesting to me, and that's why I'm still here, and want to get more involved with the entrepreneurship side, entrepreneurship side of healthcare. And I think BBC is a great opportunity for you to do that. I know that co-op will get you into like big company, big names, but BBC, like we are different, right? We work with startups, so we got to see the whole journey of having an idea and bringing that idea into something that is tangible, and help like the entrepreneurs with that. So that's been pretty, long story, but but I'm still very interested in the space, and that's why I'm here with Nirvan and everyone else in ViTAL.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. Wow. Thank you.
So any other questions about the application? Um, anything? Yeah, honestly, anything.
If you don't have any questions, I think I have a question for you guys actually. So just wondering, since you are here, so I assume that you are interested in VVC, and just want to hear a little bit like why are you interested in VVC, and what brought you here essentially. Ron, you want to start?
Sure. Yeah. No. So the reason I asked what was your initial like first experience is because I'm still waiting to like take that dive into healthcare. And I feel like, as you said, this is the perfect like tie between entrepreneurship, innovation, healthcare, all into one. And Vital seem like is like a perfect opportunity for that. So yeah, I look forward to that. So yeah.
Yeah, great to hear. And just wondering, are you still a freshman right now, Ron? Or
Yeah, I'm a sophomore.
got it.
Yeah. Also, did the company that you work for, did they ever bring the drug to market, or not yet?
You asking me? So yeah,
Yeah.
so they did.
Oh,
Before I
awesome.
joined, they had the first product, and while I was there, they commercialized the second product, like, which is super great.
I
Uh,
know. I mean, getting a drug to market in and of itself is like crazy. Wow, it's
exactly,
great.
exactly. It's super cool, and we have champagne. I think like a few times
Oh
to
yeah,
pump
to
for
celebrate.
that. So
That's
that's pretty
awesome.
fun. Yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
I have a question.
Sure, Payne.
So could you guys talk about what are some of like the example things that we will be working on if we join? Because I know like I don't really I know I have knowledge in healthcare and health science, but like I barely know about healthcare consulting, especially like as students. What could we do in terms of the consulting work?
All right, I'm guessing I'm taking this one. So I think there's quite an array of things you can do. So I think just at a very bottom line, I think it's really important to know how to search for information efficiently. I think that's often tough because we just go to Google and we're like, okay, like done, and just like look at it. Um, but I think if you know, like, okay, like I want to know like how big this market segment is, like where can I go for that information? Then maybe you don't necessarily go to Google and you can go to a more tailored website, or set of websites that you know might either have some press about the market or might have some actual like data pulls on the market. So that's like one thing is like being able to officially spend your time. And I think along with that, there's going to be other fact forms of research from, looking at customer segments and like, why would a customer want a service? What would it take to get a customer to get to the point where they can use a service? Because a lot of times there are barriers in the actual adoption of a service or a product. So it's a lot of problem solving and thinking about problems from different angles, because a lot of times it's not straightforward because there are factors that you don't really see on the surface, and you have to really put yourself in the shoes of the either company or the end user or whatever the problem is. So I think there's a lot you're going to get out of it, and even if you don't necessarily know everything coming in, I mean, we don't know everything. We are barely scratching the surface from our experiences. Um, so it's just a willingness to learn and to be able to pick up things quickly and then like use those.
Yeah, I think that cover most of the thing I want to talk about. But I just want to echo one thing that the bandit mentioned is that mentality of thinking like the owner. So like putting yourself in the shoe of the the clients, the companies who face this like huge problem of how to I don't know commercialize a product, for example, and really think like what's the like incentive for them to go and ask these type of questions. And that's how VVC can add value, right? We work as a team and bring this interdisciplinary perspective on healthcare into this big picture and look at different angles, from a patient's perspective, from like a physician perspective, from the payer's perspective, and see how they can communicate their value add. So that's what we do essentially. At the end of the day, we try to help our client to answer some of the like very critical questions about how to either improve their product, attract the customer, or just be more competitive, uh, like yeah, and differentiate themselves from other competitors. So that's what we try to do. And in terms of the hard skills that we look for in our like new members, so as Naban said, we did a lot of research, market research. So if you already have some type of experience with market research or just data crunching, that'd be great if you can bring that up during interview or when you build out our applications. Other than that, we also like look for people who are willing to learn and know how to communicate clearly and yeah yeah like good at communicating. That's pretty much it. But yeah, as long as you are eager to learn and you know what's your strengths are and what value you can add to the team, I think that would help you with deal during the interview process.
Hi, I have a quick question. Would you be able to talk about a little more about what exactly um, some of our responsibilities might be and what exactly the different roles are within the team?
Yeah, so there's quite a variety of things you can be doing. I think that's the beauty of it is there are no like set roles. Like you should have a mindset where you can do anything at any time, because there will be instances when a teammate will be like, hey, like school's kicking my butt, or I have this other thing going on, I can't necessarily contribute as much. So that's one thing to think about. But the other thing is that we're gonna try to put you in areas where you feel strongest. So, there might be someone who's, more well versed with like finding data and understanding data and then interpreting that data into some meaningful information. And then there might be someone who's, more well versed on the healthcare side of things, and can be responsible for more of that content. And then again, there could be someone with more of a business expertise who could take charge of, maybe coming up with certain marketing initiatives the company can do, or take lead based on what they know from classes and other experiences on how to, search for like certain customer related information more effectively. Because as a healthcare person with only a healthcare focus, it's tough for you to understand like how to grow someone's customer base, or how to make the product marketable to the population. So that's why we want to have an interdisciplinary team that can take on all these problems and kind of share knowledge with one another in the process.
And just to follow up on that, would you be able to talk a little bit more about like what exactly, or could you give an example of some cases that we may have during the consulting period? Like what exactly like we'd be told to do, or what the company would be looking for? And I'm just speaking because I don't really have experience in consulting or business, so.
Yeah. So with the companies that we're looking for, a lot of them are in a growth stage. So in a growth stage, you're basically trying to enter a new market. So that means that you have like a product that's validated, but you want to validate it a little bit further, as you try to, reach out to other customers and understand what they know about the product and, what they would want from the product to use it. So in that growth stage, it's a lot of what you call due diligence, which is pretty research heavy, where you do a lot of analyses on what competitors have to offer, what's working right now in a certain industry, and why it's working. And then also coming up with, some innovative strategies that companies can use, like preferably leveraging like existing frameworks or products or services that they've worked with before, to make the current problem or whatever they're looking for more successful and viable. But yeah, Lynn can definitely add to that a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think like Noban covered a lot about like the the type, the secondary research type of research that we do. Like basically we go to Google and look at different types of reports and articles about like the trends and their competitors. Another huge part of like our project is also around like primary research. So we also like conduct interviews and surveys with like real people to understand like, and just to validate our hypothesis, basically. So that involves a lot of bias for action, and taking the initiative to reach out to people and talking to them. So I would add that to what Nirban had just mentioned, the two part of BBC consulting project. Mm-hmm.
I also had a question about like timing and everything. So say if like we're planning to take like a summer course over the summer, can we still get involved with a summer project?
Yeah, totally. When I did the project, or our first project, I was taking a class and working full time,
Mm-hmm.
like 9 to 5. And so it's definitely doable because we're all doing things. And yeah, you shouldn't be needing to put in, or like having to like compromise school or anything, or vice versa to be successful.
Yeah, and in terms of the time commitment, so we hope that like the minimum amount, like number of hours you should be able to commit is like around 8 hours per week. So that should be the minimum. And if you think that is like if that's you can handle that, and if you still have like can allocate time to meet that minimum hours, I think that'd be like no problem.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So any other questions? You guys are always welcome to stalk us on LinkedIn, message us. I've said that over and over again. If you think of something later, I mean, you still have 8 days. But yeah, we're still here for a few minutes if you think of something.
When do we receive responses for our applications?
Yeah, so
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
no, so actually we will reach out to you guys sometime next week.
Oh, cool.
To those who got through the screening well. But yeah, we really excited to read your application, and I think that like at least for like so far, I think everyone are very self-aware about the strengths and weaknesses and the reason why they are interested in VVC and Vital in general. So very excited to read your application if you already submitted it.
Great. All right, well, I need to head out, but it was nice seeing you guys again.
Awesome. Nice meeting you, Ron. Okay.
Yeah, and just to reiterate, like I think it's gonna be Ron, you can go if you want. I'm just gonna repeat.
Oh, okay.
But these are gonna be basically like rolling applications. So the faster you apply, the faster we'll get to take a look at them, get back to you on next steps. So preferably don't wait till the 12th because that's not fun for us or you. But I get it if you need till the deadline.
I think we'll hand it off to Hino for some of the final reminders. But like again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to Naban and I. We're happy to talk it through. But yeah, you want to take it?
Yeah, so I want to say thank you to both of you for leading this event and for providing some more information and to everyone who attended. I hope you all apply, and if you have any questions, just want to like say again, please message them on our Slack. And if you don't have the link to join our Slack, I can put it in the chat right now. I would highly recommend, whether or not you end up applying to to Ventures, I would recommend joining the Slack because we put all of our events and everything in there and just have a general chat going for our members. And it's probably the easiest way to stay involved with everything. And like Lynn mentioned, next week we have a healthcare consulting co-op panel actually. So Nirban will be on it. So you'll get to hear more about his actual real life experience in healthcare consulting. And we also have 2 other panelists who work in different companies. And so it'll be a good experience to kind of hear very firsthand somewhat of what you'll be doing on a smaller scale with ViTAL. Just to kind of reiterate that VVC is very much a real world experiential learning opportunity. But yeah, and we have events every Thursday, 6 to 7 p.m. Eastern, and the Zoom links are always on Instagram. But thank you all for coming, and you're free to head out. But if you want to stick around and have a few more questions, feel free to as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I just had one